And we're here this afternoon for the joint Gomo Learning and e-learning industry multi-device learning in practice webinar. I'm Mike Alcock, I'm Managing Director of Gomo Learning. Gomo is a multi-device e-learning authoring tool. It allows you to create and now deliver and track multi-device e-learning on any device, tablet, mobile, and it's all done in the cloud. So you author in the cloud and you can deliver your Gomo content from the cloud. And what I'll do, I'll be talking about the theory and practice of multi-device design, how we do it and what it means, and then I will build a course live using Gomo to show you how we can achieve multi-device learning with the Gomo Learning Suite. Just let the video finish there, there it is. And the presentation we're actually looking at today is a Gomo Learning course, of course. So, why do we need responsive design? Well, the answer's on the screen, and it's probably, if you're anything like me, on your desk as we speak at the moment. I've got 3 devices at the moment. I've got my, and that's my kit on the right-hand picture. I have my Windows laptop, I have my iPad mini, and my Nexus 5, which is an Android phone. They've all got different screen sizes, they've all got different operating systems, but we want our content to fill the screens and to work correctly on all of those devices, and that's where responsive design comes in. So this is where Hugh will just monitor. If you could just type into the question box, how many devices do you use in a typical day? 1, 2, 3, or more than 3. It'd be great if you would be able to just type in your answers into the answer box there. We did this webinar a couple of months ago to a primarily UK audience. And the answer, the average number that came out when we studied everybody was 3.7. So a lot of people obviously out there with 4 or more devices. So I'll let you all just type in for a moment. It'd be interesting to get the results from Hugh at the end of the webinar. So, if we're going to deliver content to all of these different devices and all of these different screen sizes, we've got to start to use very different techniques to traditional e-learning techniques. I'm sure many of you are seasoned e-learning practitioners, and you'll be using tools that lay out a rectangle of content, and it's usually 1024 by 768, and it's fixed size, and it doesn't move, and therefore it doesn't play back properly on a mobile device, it doesn't adapt to a smartphone, it doesn't understand orientation, tablet, smartphone, landscape, portrait. Now with responsive design, responsive web design is where this all started, responsive design tries to provide an optimal viewing experience on a wide range of devices, and we do this through the use of fluid, proportion-based grids, flexible images, and a load of media queries. And I won't go too much into the detail of all that technology, but it's the technology that we use in Gomo to make Gomo a multi-device authoring tool. And I'm sure you're all familiar with being able to consume your favorite websites on your favorite device, and I'll start a search for an airline ticket on my mobile, I'll then continue it on my tablet, and maybe if I get at my desk I might end up doing the booking on my desktop computer. And our students are increasingly expecting their e-learning to work in the same way, and that's why we have responsive e-learning design. So Gomo produces responsive and adaptive HTML5 outputs. And I was actually on another webinar last week, and someone was saying, well, HTML5 can't be responsive, and it's not the case. It's absolutely possible to create responsive and adaptive HTML5 e-learning content. So this is a Gomo course on the screen now, and I'm going to show you some of the proportion-based grids and some of the media queries in action. So if I just come out of full screen mode on this course and just stretch it around the page a little bit, this isn't really how you would use your content, but it will illustrate some of the principles. So there's my course. I've got this course set on a desktop computer to fill the screen, so it will fill the browser as best it can. As I shrink the items down, you can see our monkeys here are spaced left, center, and right justified in the first 3 columns, and then they're fit to width on the 4th column. As I shrink down, you'll start to see the columns shrinking, responding responsively to the changing browser conditions, and our monkeys are getting closer together. They're now all center justified in those 4 columns. We're getting smaller and smaller, and when the media query detects that the size of the browser has gone past a certain point, it does that, and it snaps those columns vertically. And as we shrink further down here, like so, we're now looking at something that looks like a smartphone. And my left-hand monkeys are on the left, the center in the middle, the right are on the right, and our 2 at the bottom are fitting to the width. So that's responsive design in action in terms of e-learning courses, and I'll show you how we create that kind of effect when I start building the course in a moment. The other really important part of responsive design is the ability to create full screen content, and you've got to really look at, if you look at the plethora of devices that are available today, it's so hard to have to use a tool that specifies what size the device is. There's lots of tools out there, and you can say, well, it's a 380 by 240 course, so it will sit in the middle of an iPhone 5. But on an iPhone 6, it won't fill the screen because you've set the dimensions of the course. And on an iPhone 6 Plus, it'll be sat like an island in the middle of the page. It's halfway house. With Gomo, we have responsive, truly responsive content that will fill the screen in any orientation. So unlike the courses that you're seeing on the pages here, that's sort of okay on a desktop, okay, it fills it vertically. On a tablet, not really. It's starting to get too small. It hasn't done any content adaptation. On a smartphone, it's completely unusable. It's taken that 1024 by 768 rectangle and shrunk it down and plonked it in the middle of a smartphone display, where the text is illegible, the buttons are too small to hit, the course is effectively unusable. So we think it's really important that you can build courses once that just adapt and respond to the target device and play back any device, any orientation, and that's what Gomo gives you. Looking at some of the other techniques that we use as well, we also use something called content adaptation. So responsiveness is changing the display based on the browser conditions. Adaptation is adjusting the way an interaction behaves based on device type and screen size. So we can optimize displays. So this is a click and reveal interaction on the page here that I'm running through now in my full screen desktop mode. Let's just disconnect this browser window again and shrink that course down. So here it is at full screen. I'm shrinking the browser, We're now starting to compress up, and there you can see the content immediately stacked vertically. So we're now on a smartphone, and our smartphone users have still got usable content. The text is still readable, the images are visible, and the hit areas for things like quizzes and buttons and so on are still big enough for our fingers. So we use a combination of adaptive and responsive HTML5 to give you full screen content on any device. The other thing we do with adaptation is we adapt our courses to the device that you're running on, and we have something called display conditions inside Gomo. And display conditions allow you to target devices. So you might have a beautiful full screen world map, for example, that works great on a tablet and it works great on an iPad, but on a smartphone it's too small, it's illegible, so you might choose to design a beautiful scrolling vertical world map, and you can just tell it to just display on a smartphone only. And as you can see, I'm running this course today, and it's figured out that I'm viewing it on a desktop, and it's basically displayed the desktop version of the text for me. Now we can do that in Gomo with any kind of content. So again, you might choose to target your devices perhaps less text on a smartphone, maybe a different video on a smartphone, different imagery, different backgrounds. You can choose all of that with your device targeting through Gomo. Another thing we're able to do really nicely to adapt our courses within Gomo is to embed third-party content. And we do this through an iframe asset. So I can embed just about anything I want to that's on the internet within a Gomo course. So we're streaming video live there from YouTube. I've got my Twitter feed in the lower half of the screen. So let me turn the volume off on that video there because it's deafening me. I've got my Twitter feed down there. I could go full screen. It will take over the whole screen, so I won't bother. But let's have a look at some other embedding. Let's imagine you build an e-learning induction course and you've got a map of all your locations. Well, wouldn't it be nicer to have a Google map that's fully interactive that people can find your office in and zoom out and work out the directions from their house when they're coming on an interview to your location? So that's live from Google Maps straight into Gomo. Perhaps when you put your office on the screen, if you're lucky enough to have an office in Trafalgar Square, you could embed Nelson's column, for example. So just about any content that works on the internet we can embed within a Gomo course. And we've got lots of customers using this for the examples I've shown you here, but also for things like embedding content from other e-learning systems. So maybe from a non-responsive system, lots of people using Storyline and embedding things like Storyline games inside their Gomo courses. Just about anything that sits on the web can be embedded inside a Gomo course to give you a really dynamic and up-to-date course. One of the biggest users we have is Climate KIC. It's an online education team, and they're building entire MOOCs around multi-device resources created with Gomo. This is all about the greenhouse effect and climate change and so forth. They make heavy use of the team collaboration features, which I'll talk about in a moment, but also all of the design options in Gomo. And their comment is it gives them a really nice balance between simplicity of output and richness of learner activity. And of course, really critical for them, they've got these MOOCs with tens of thousands of users, and they're going to want to consume that content on the device of their choice. So they will want to access it on an iPad or a smartphone or whatever device they've got to hand, and Gomo enables that to them. So that's a bit of the theory. Let's just talk about Gomo, and then I'll take you through a demo. Gomo is built on 5 key pillars: content creation, customization, collaboration, hosting and distribution, and analytics. And let's just look at those in detail. So content creation, I'll show you some of this in a moment. It's all done through a web browser. There's nothing to download. There's nothing to install. Gomo's in the cloud. It's software as a service. You log in through a web browser and you start building your courses. So you can be up and running in Gomo in less than 10 minutes. It's all drag and drop. There's no programming language. I'll show you that in a moment. Customization, you really can customize your Gomo courses to your heart's content. You can change the look and feel, backgrounds. We have something called themes in Gomo. Themes control the look and feel of a course. The beauty of themes is they're separate from content. So if you've built 100 courses using a particular theme and your customer decides on a rebrand and they want to use different colors or different logos, different backgrounds, whatever it might be, all you've got to do is change the theme and reapply it. You can update hundreds of courses in an instant. In a lot of desktop tools, you would end up opening 100 courses and then maybe even 100 pages inside each course to make a theme change. In Gomo, it's instantaneous. Because Gomo is in the cloud, it's collaborative. You can work together. I'll get a bigger version of that diagram later on, but basically Gomo is in the cloud from an authoring and also from a hosting and distribution perspective. So you can work together. We've got content locking to stop 2 people updating the same page at the same time. We've got online review, I'll show you that in a moment, and we've got online hosting and distribution. Hosting and distribution lets you push your courses out from Gomo into the hands of your students instantly. There are 4 main methods of distributing content out of Gomo, as well as the standard publish Gomo as your course as a SCORM learning object. You can also set up a Gomo learner portal. You can push courses out through a SCORM wrapper into an LMS, and then when you update the course in Gomo, it's immediately updated in the LMS. You can embed your courses in a website, and you can send people a direct link or even a QR code. So we've got lots of interesting ways of getting Gomo into the hands of your students. And sat behind that hosting capability is a full Tincan X API analytics dashboard, giving you far more detailed information than you'll ever get from your SCORM LMS. And I'll show you all of these in a moment. So we'll come out of that Gomo presentation and we'll just go back to Gomo. So this is Gomo. That's me, top right there. I'm logged into my bit of Gomo and I've got access to both of the Gomo products. I've got the authoring and the hosting. Clicking on the authoring icon will launch my bit of the Gomo learning portal. So here's all the courses that I've been working on recently. And to open any of those courses, just click on them and I can start working on them. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to build a quick course. So let's give it a name. And it's Wednesday today, and it's 1521. Here in the UK at least. Choose where my images and stuff are going to go. So 4 steps to build your course initially. The second step is to choose your theme. At the top of the screen there you're seeing some of the standard themes that come with Gomo. I'm going to use Night Sky for this particular presentation today. Further down you can see some of the custom themes that we've built for some of our customers like Deloitte, Dunhill, Nike, Nema, Bayer and so forth. So we do have custom theme development services if you want to take advantage of that. However, lots of customers use the standard themes that come with Gomo, and they're quite happy and you can configure them, and I'll show you how you do that later on. I'll now choose what I'm going to give to my students. So I've given them a menu, help, glossary and an exit button, and then finally I can choose which of my colleagues in my bit of Gomo are going to work on this course with me. Because Gomo is collaborative and we can all work together, I might choose that it'll just be me working on this particular course, or maybe it's going to be me and Hugh and Gavin. And again, I can just choose all of the people that I might want on there. So that course is now created. There it is with my menu and my 3 topics. Even though I'm in standard issue Chrome here, I can right-click. So if we look at the topic 1, if I right-click on that one, let's go to the topic settings, and I'll just rename it. We'll call it Introduction instead of topic 1. And I've got the concept of production status here. So I'll now tell my colleagues that topic 1 is in development, and they can see what's going on. I've also got the ability to configure the nav bar. So at the bottom I've got a menu, help, glossary and exit button, and at the top I think I'll have some table of contents and a progress bar for my students. So just setting up the basic functionality of the course. Click on the topic and it's then locked by me, and we open up the authoring window. This is where you spend most of your time in Gomo. This is the main authoring interface. Excuse me, just going to take a drink. So, just to explain what's going on this screen here, the navigator on the left is the list of screens in this topic. The assets are all the items I can drag onto each screen. So I've got my audio players, my video players, my presentational assets, and my quiz assets. And it's all drag and drop, and I'll start building some screens in a moment. In the middle of the screen I have my screen layout, and on the right-hand side we've got our properties panel, and that's dynamic. As I select items on the screen, it changes to reflect those. And just to explain what's going on here, the preview window isn't quite WYSIWYG. I'll explain why in a moment, but it does give us a good idea of how this course is going to look. But I've selected this text block here with the 2 blocks of text in there, and you can see on the right-hand side it's a 2-column layout. On a desktop and a tablet display, it's going to present the course pretty much like we're seeing it on the screen now. But on a smartphone, Gomo will stack this right-hand text block underneath the left-hand text block, and that's how we get the text readable for our smartphone users. So I don't have to tell Gomo who's consuming the course, what device they're on, what orientation they're in, whether it's landscape or portrait or whatever. I will get all of that taken care of by Gomo. So during this demo, you won't see me having to tell it it's an iPhone 6 or an iPhone 5 or whatever it might be. So let's just put some text in. I'll just change that title to say Introduction. We'll delete this text block on the right. I'll just get the Gomo website on the page and just cut and paste a bit of text off the website into this particular Gomo course. So I'll just grab that bit of text about responsive design. Oops. Copy that, go back to the authoring window, and we'll paste that in here. On the right-hand side, I think I'll bring in an image, so just drag that over, double-click, and I can have a list or a thumbnail view, depending on my style. I can search through my list of images, but maybe that will do for the first screen in this presentation. Let's now add a second screen. I'll add a screen from a template, and using templates just lets me build up really interactive screens very quickly. Just assembles all of the items on the page ready for population with content. So let's build let's make this screen all about our offices. I'm going to bring in a map of the world, just so I could do some location type stuff. I could search through here, but I'll just be lazy and grab the map like so. And because I used a layout, Gomo automatically created me 3 subscreens where I can put my reveal information. So we'll make the first screen all about Brighton. I'll just title that as Brighton, just make it easier to find in a moment. And again, we'll just drop in an image of Brighton onto this page. There it is, Brighton Pier. And then on the second reveal, we'll make this one about the New York office. And again, I'll just go and find an image of New York. Again, I'm scrolling through my image library here. I could search. I'm just being a little bit lazy. And there's New York skyline like so. And then if I go back to my hotspot screen and double click, I can set up the interactivity. So we'll put hotspot number 2 over the US, hotspot number 1 over the UK, which has miraculously grown a little bit. Push hotspot 3 over to the side there. And if we look at hotspot 1, we can set the action. So what happens when the student clicks or touches that part of the screen? And you can see it's set to show the Brighton subscreen, and that's what I want it to do when they click on the UK. But there's lots of other things I could do. I could link to a website, I could open a PDF, I could link to another screen in the presentation, so I could go non-linear, I could set accessibility, course completion, score, change an image, set a variable. So you can do very rich and interesting things within Gomo when you're creating courses. I'm probably doing the most simple thing here of just revealing a sub-screen, but it's possible to go very non-linear and very interactive. So that's probably going to do it for screen number 2. Let's add another new screen. Again, I'll add a screen from a template, and we'll just stick in something about our customers, like so. I'll delete this text block on the right, and in fact I don't need an audio player on the left. I'm going to bring in a carousel, which is a nice way of building up interactivity. Double click on this asset and I can go and find some images, and I'll go and get some customer logos to drop in on here. He says, where have they all gone? They were in there, I'm sure. Where are my customer logos? Okay, I'll just have to stick in some of my own logos for the moment. I do apologise. Thought I'd put those in here, but obviously not. I'll stick a DevLearn logo in. And one more. We'll stick our HTML5 in. There we go. So that could be Gomo, DevLearn, and HTML5. Like so. We don't need this text block at the bottom, so I'll delete that one. And we'll do one more screen, and then we'll go and have a look at what we've created. And finally, we'll create one more screen from a template. And I'll just do a pretty basic multiple choice question. There's lots of different question types within Gomo. And we'll make the header here the question stem. Oops. So where is our head office? Like so. We'll set up the quiz. So option 1 can be London. Option 2 will be Brighton. And option 3 will be New York. We'll make Brighton the correct answer, so we'll give that one the correct feedback. London's now incorrect. Apply that. And on the right hand side we'll just drop a graphic in for a bit of visual interest. I'm dropping graphics that have been preloaded into here, but you can, if I double click on this one again, I can upload directly into Gomo if I want to. We can also edit the images in Gomo, so I've got the ability to scale and stretch and crop, so if your image isn't quite right when it comes into Gomo, you can make those changes. But I think we've done enough for now, so we will save those changes to that quick project and then go and have a look at it. And I'll show you some of the previewing features. And one of the really nice features of Gomo is the ability to preview your projects across any device while you're in Gomo. I'll also share this project and I'll show you that later on as well. So if I hit the preview button now, I get the Gomo online preview, and this lets me test the course on any device in any orientation, all within Gomo. So here we see full screen desktop display. I've got this course set to fill the browser. There it is. It's Wednesday at 15:21. It's now Wednesday at 15:32. So we've been going 10 or 11 minutes. This is the course. Let's go and have a look at it. So there's the introduction about responsive design and Gomo learning. There's my world map. And if I click on the UK, we get Brighton. If I click on the US, we get New York. I've got my carousel, which should have had lots of lovely customer logos in, but I couldn't find them, so I've just got some temporary ones in there. And then finally we've got our quiz. Where is our head office? And it's in Brighton, of course, and I get the correct feedback. So that's how the course will look to a desktop user. However, we want to do multi-device, so what's it going to look like on an iPad? And it'll look like this, and I can click on the contents and go to the introduction and test that course on an iPad. But then what's it going to look for? What's it going to look like for our smartphone users? And it'll look like this, and hopefully you saw there the content adaptation. The picture is now below the question. The text is still readable. The quiz is still big enough for me to hit with my fingers, and I get the incorrect feedback there. So everything works perfectly on the mobile device without any effort whatsoever, and at no point did I have to tell it how big the course is, what the device type is, what the screen size was, what the orientation was. A lot of e-learning systems force you to hold the device in either landscape or portrait. Gomo doesn't. If I want to hold my phone on its side, because that's my preferred way of working, then I can do that. And everything will still work. Obviously I've got a little bit of a scroll now that I'm in landscape mode, and again go back to the portrait, maybe just check it out on a tablet in portrait mode, in landscape or portrait. So you can fully test your courses in inside Gomo instead of having to publish them out to your target device. I will show you shortly a very nice way of getting them out to your devices as well. While we're testing this course, we can also share it for review. So you may have spotted this little task panel. This is quite new featuring Gomo. So I might be reviewing this course here, and I get to this page and realize that Mike's put in the wrong logos. And in most e-learning systems, I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with setting up huge spreadsheets with lists of errors and fixes and changes, and or sending each other enormous email trails. With Gomo, you don't have to do that. I've got a tasks panel here, and I can add a new task. And my description will be add the customer logos, please, because I forgot to do that. Logos, please. Logos. It's in the introduction topic. It knows I'm already there. It knows I'm in the TMP audio left screen. So there's none of this slide 13 of 26 in section 5. And Hugh's busy on this webinar, but when it's finished, I'll let him do that change. Now, when Hugh logs into Gomo and goes to his task list, he'll see that one in there. And he also gets the ability to preview it, so he can jump straight to the page and go, okay, I can see what's happened there. Mike's put the Gomo Learning logo in. I need to replace it with Nike or Dunhill or Burberry or some of the other Gomo users that are in there. So it's that quick and easy to build a course, to review it, and it's fully multi-device ready out of the box. I mentioned at the beginning themes. I'll just show you a bit of work with themes. Themes control the look and feel of the course. I chose the night sky theme for this course. I've now got all of these other themes to choose, and if I pick one of those, it will immediately rebrand the entire course based on the new theme that I select. But I might prefer to just do some tweaking to this night sky theme. This is the only time we specify a size in Gomo. I might want to restrict the width of that course for my desktop users to say 1024 pixels. If I know my desktop estate's 1024 pixels wide, I might not want a wider course. I might want to play around with the color scheme of that theme, so I'll just make the blues a bit stronger, I'll make the orange a little bit redder. If you've got the hex values for your color schemes, you can obviously type those in. And I might just choose to put a different default background. So Gomo uses a default background for every page. You can replace that on a page-by-page basis, but obviously if you stick with the default setting that comes out of the theme, it's very easy to then rebrand your course entirely just by changing the resource that goes into the back of the course. So I'll just scroll down and find, I won't get our, oh, go on, I'll stick Sydney in, why not? And further down here, I've got my my fonts and colors as well. So again, Gomo's great for design consistency. By setting the fonts up in the theme, if anyone puts a title on the page and they use Gomo correctly, it will always come out in your preferred corporate font and color scheme. So, having made those changes to the theme, if I hit the refresh button now, I can go and have a look at how this course is looking. And there we've got Sydney Opera House. The image isn't quite big enough, it's just got a little bit of tiling on, so I probably might want to change that in a moment, but I've rebranded that course, and when we get to the quiz, we can now see that the quiz is a lot bluer than it was earlier on. So it's that quick and easy to modify and update your courses at the touch of a button. So that's most of the authoring side. I haven't shown everything in there. I'll obviously answer some questions towards the end, but I mentioned at the beginning that Gomo now has a hosting capability as well, so I could choose to publish that course we've just built as a SCORM 1.2 lesson and deliver it to my LMS as usual, or I could publish it to the Gomo hosting platform. And that will bring it to here. This is my bit of Gomo where I've published some courses in the past. This is my dashboard. I've got all of the courses available. If I click into this particular one, you can see the sorts of analytics that we're pulling out of it. So I can see things like device type, 71% or access this on a desktop, 15% on a tablet, 12.5% on a smartphone. SCORM LMSs can't tell you this because they don't know, they don't understand these things. It's because we're using TinCan X API analytics that we're tracking here. I can see the latest user accesses, the latest completions. If I drill down into the analytics page and look at all activities, then I can see that Gary at the Alcox, it's one of my pseudonyms, has been in. Last thing he did was exited that course from the Learning Solutions page. He experienced the main menu, he experienced the photosphere page, he experienced the street view. So we can see everything that Gary did and really start to build up some detailed understanding of learner behavior. This is the very first release of our analytics. I can see that Pratibha there took the quiz and scored 75%. I can also see which questions she got correct and incorrect. So we've got full Experience API analytics running in the background, and this actually applies even if you publish a course out using our SCORM wrapper into your LMS, so you can have the best of both worlds. Your existing LMS collecting its SCORM data and Gomo collecting your TinCan X API data, and you've got lots more information you can start to analyze and look at from your courses and your students. Now that's my administrator view. Access point is where we put the courses if we want our students to experience them. We set up the name. You can drop in your own logo and your own icon, and clicking on the launch button will launch that page for me, and this is the student interface. So if I just get Gary to log in again, this is how the student sees the world if you're consuming the content through Gomo Central, which is our access point. So Gary gets to see the 4 courses he's got access to, and obviously clicking on any of those will launch that course for him. And as soon as it does that, it's automatically tracking back into the Learning Record Store. In fact, we do a bit of a round trip here. It goes out to the Learning Locker LRS is where we send and receive our data from. And then we've got that course running like so. And I'll just show you what happens when I come out of here. So let's exit that course now and go back to the hosting portal, go to my projects page, click on the RLC one, and there it is. Gary Alcox just resumed that course, and in the analytics I'll get instantly the fact that he went through the seabed, shipwreck, sinking, RLC pages, and then exited. So that's a complete end-to-end solution, and as I mentioned at the start, you've got 4 ways of distributing. You can send people a link, you can send them a QR code, I'll show you that in a moment. You can take them to Gomo Central here and let them log in and consume their courses. You can embed the courses within a SCORM LMS with our SCORM LMS wrapper, and you can embed the courses in a website with our HTML wrapper. And even in a website, you will get your TinCan analytics data. The users will be anonymous because they haven't had to log in, but you'll be able to see that. So one last thing I'll do, and then I will invite Hugh to join us for the last 10 minutes, and we'll start looking at some of the questions that have been coming in. I meant to show you earlier on the sharing facility. I can send a link later on as well, but we can share via QR code. So if any of you have got your mobile device and you've got a QR code reader handy, point it at the screen now. It should pick that code up, and that course that I just built Wednesday at 15:21 should jump straight onto your mobile device, and you'll be able to run it and see it running hopefully in its full screen glory with Sydney Opera House in the background. So I'll just leave that on the screen for a few seconds. I know a lot of people do like to play with that, and hopefully it's working for everybody. So at this point I'm going to open it up to questions. So Hugh, if you're there, perhaps you can come in and just run some of them past me. Hi Hugh, how you doing?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
hear you.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Just first of all, the results of the poll that you ran earlier.
Oh, yes.
How many devices do people typically use in a day? Well, what was coming out there is that the majority of people use about 3 devices. Very few were using less than 3 devices, but there were a few with quite a lot more. In fact, one person used 6 devices in any typical
6.
day. So that's quite a bit of juggling there. Also, there was a question about, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. It is being recorded.
Yes,
I'm
it is,
recording
yes.
that now. And so we'll be making that available through our YouTube channel and link to our website. Also, a few themes which are coming out of the many questions, and thanks a lot to everyone for all the questions coming through. If we don't get a chance to go through them all now, then we'll get back to you afterwards once we analyse all the questions. One question that was coming through is about whether only linear navigation is possible, because some of the things you were showing sort of was screen after screen. So
Yes.
maybe you could say a bit more about the idea of branching between topics and project structure, course structure as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I was showing you some linear examples there. I'm just going to take the QR code off now, but you can be as non-linear and interactive as you need or as you want to be. And that can be done in lots of interesting ways in Gomo. It can be done as an author through typical mechanisms like, dropping, I've got 3 buttons on the screen here, and they'll take me to 3 different topics. That's probably the most simple. I showed you when I did the world map that clicking on the UK revealed a picture of Brighton. Well, it didn't have to do that. It could have linked off to an entire topic about Brighton. It could have opened a website. It could have gone to a YouTube video. So we could do just about anything based on those student selections. But we can also build in non-linearity with our display conditions, which are really powerful now. So I can choose what items might display on the screen based on a lot of conditions. And those conditions might be where the students clicked, but they might also be things like the current score. So I might choose to present certain information to a student because he's currently halfway through the course, and his current ranking in the quiz is less than 50%. So based on that combination, I might think, okay, this guy's struggling a bit, let's take him back, or let's feed him or her some additional information. So I can make the non-linearity very targeted and very complex in a lot of ways, if you like, very advanced interactivity.
Great, thanks, Mike. Also, there was a theme coming out about organising your resources, so your images and video and audio. We can see that you were browsing for those. Could you also show us the folder organisation in the shared content, so that just people get a feel for how you organise your media?
So if I go to the authoring portal here, there's my projects, and I can have a list or grid view, but I can also look at, if I go to the shared content area, like so, then there are my folders. So you can create your folder structures. Once you've created your folder structures, and you can have as many folders as you like. If I click on a particular folder structure, I can then see all of the files in DC Comics, and if I want to, I can upload files. So I can either browse out, or there's a really nice integration with our operating system. Just let me get a window open here. Here's some images here. So if I want that one, and that one, I can just drag them into the window and do a mass upload. So a really quick way to get content into Gomo. And the other nice things worth saying there is that if you access this bit of Gomo via your tablet or smartphone, which you can do, you can log into Gomo using your mobile devices, of course. When you do that and you browse out to the shared content area, Gomo will interrogate the camera reel of your device. If you've used your iPad or your smartphone to take a load of photographs that you want in your e-learning project, you can get them straight into Gomo, straight off your mobile device.
Great, thanks again, Mike. Also, about questions about can you create your own theme, or are you just
Yes.
stuck with what you're given?
Now, themes are, here's all the themes. I've got access to every theme here because of who I am, but you normally get, I think it's about 6 themes to start with, things like clouds, elegance, night sky, and so on. So you can use those out of the box, but you also have the option to duplicate and customize. So you can make a copy of it, give it your own, give it its own name, and then, as I was doing earlier on, I'll just go back to that project I was working on Wednesday at 15:21. When you click onto the settings for the themes, you've got access to just about everything you might want to change. So if I go to customize the theme settings, as I did by replacing the background, I can change the color scheme, I can change the opacity of the backgrounds, the color and opacity or the background of all the areas in the subscreens. I can set my preferred fonts, I can choose how buttons look, I can control my header and footer navigation, even down to which way topics slide horizontally or vertically. So I would say probably over 90% of Gomo customers just use the standard themes and customize them, tweak them to their heart's content. It tends to be the very brand conscious organizations that we have using Gomo. Nike, for example, had very strict branding requirements, so we did them a custom theme. Burberry, that's in production at the moment actually, I just saw the designs for it yesterday again. Burberry is a very brand conscious organization, so it had to be absolutely 100% matching their brand guidelines, but it's not necessary generally for most users.
Thanks, Mike. Quite a few questions coming in about the pricing model and the pricing structure and how much space you get for your actual images, audio, video, and so forth in the different packages.
Okay, thank you. So there's 2 packages now. We used to just have Gomo authoring, but we now have the Gomo Learning Suite, which gives you authoring and hosting. I'll show you the authoring prices first. So it starts, we hope, very cost effectively. If it's just you, £49 a month for a single user subscription. That gives you a gigabyte of storage and email to give knowledge base support. It's $490 for the year. If you sign up for a year, you get 12 months for the price of 10. I'll put that into dollars because I know there's a heck of a lot of people in the USA. So it starts at $89 per month there. The most popular package we have is the small team. That's $249 a month or $2490 for the year. That's for 4 users, and you can start to use the collaboration features there because it's a collaborative tool. You get 4 gigabytes of storage with that, and email tickets and knowledge base support. In the UK, that comes out at $148 a month. And there's quite a few people in our Eurozone here today, so we'll just have a look at that. That's €179 a month or $59 for the personal package. If you're bigger than that, people do add, you can have more than 4 people in the small team. We've got users 8, 10, 12, but our biggest customers are on enterprise subscriptions where they'll often want a lot more storage, maybe a custom theme, some training, and maybe the addition of telephone support. So that gives you the authoring package. If you're after the suite where you can host and deliver your projects as well, let's just go back to Sterling to start with. On the suite, you effectively double the price, and that gives you a gigabyte of hosting storage and 50 gigabytes bandwidth per month. So it's all based on usage. The small team, again, it's double the price, and that's 4 gigabytes of hosting storage and 200 gigabytes bandwidth a month. Again, enterprise is bigger still. Let's convert those figures into dollars. Like so, so 178 a month for the small and 498 for the medium. So that's the sort of pricing levels and how we calculate which should be. So we'll usually look at how many courses you're looking at, how many students, and we can recommend to you which band you would fit into. There will be a pricing calculator on the website shortly so that you'll be able to put in your own numbers and work it out for yourselves. Do apologise, this is all brand new, it's just gone live, certainly the hosting side of things, so we don't quite have the calculator ready just yet. We're working on it, so but feel free to talk to me, Hugh, or any of the Gomo teams if it's of interest to you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Again, a few more questions that have come in about publishing, that if you're just using the authoring side of things, about how will you actually get that, say, to your SCORM-compliant LMS, and also in terms of the Gomo hosting and analytics, that is it an LMS in its own right, or how would I use it with my LMS?
Okay, so first question first. If you're just using the authoring package, you know, you're not going to use the hosting side of things. It's a bit like any authoring tool. You'll build your course in Gomo, you'll test it in Gomo, you make sure you're happy with it, you hit the publish button, and out comes a zip file, all packaged up, SCORM 1.2, HTML5. You just upload it to your LMS the way you might do with any other piece of e-learning, and in it goes and it runs. So it's completely disconnected from the Gomo environment at that point. If you're using the hosting package, then with your, is this an LMS? Not really. I wouldn't call it LMS. It's content hosting, distribution, and analytics, but it gives you a lot of LMS type data, so you can see who's taken your courses, who's passed and failed the quiz, how many times users have taken it. So it starts to bring out a lot of LMS type data, but we're not trying to position it as a full-blown all singing and all dancing LMS. It will play very nicely alongside other LMSs. So you might have an LMS and you need everything in there, but what Gomo gives you is the ability to publish an LMS wrapper. It's a small file that you drop into your LMS. As far as your LMS is concerned, it looks like a SCORM course. It runs like a SCORM course. It just consumes the content from the Gomo servers. And the beauty of this is that you can leave that course in the LMS, and if you then update the course in Gomo, the LMS sees the new version without you having to go through the SCORM, FTP, upload, download process that you might normally do when you're trying to get content into your LMS. So it can be a huge save of time and effort to get content into your LMS. The other thing I was just going to mention, Hugh, also on the when the questions were coming through on how much hosting size you get and the gigabytes and 4 gigabyte, don't forget those numbers aren't influenced if you're consuming content from somewhere else. If you're embedding a load of videos that are already on Vimeo or YouTube, for example, then that's not counting to your allowance because you know, Gomo is not serving them up. They're being served up from your Vimeo account. So that's what a lot of customers are doing when they're doing very heavy video stuff. They can leave the videos in Vimeo and just link out to them.
Thanks. Just following on from that, Mike, about hosting and analytics, quite a few questions around the Experience API and Tin Can, about the kind of level of analysis that you've been showing us there to do with device type. The fact that we're using, obviously, Tin Can there, but also whether in the future it's going to be possible to actually send that XAPI data to another LRS, which I think which is something that I believe that
it's available today, Hugh.
Right. Okay. Oh, great.
So I was checking it out with Adam, and he tells me we can do it. You can configure the published content of a Gomo course. You can put in the credentials. You can't write that in. You tend to do it as a manual operation as you're loading the course up to your LRS, but you can put the credentials in, and Gomo will talk to any LRS, any version 1.0 XAPI conformed LMS. I'm reliably informed. Now, if you're hosting your content in Gomo, it'll be talking to Learning Locker. And if you use Learning Locker, then you've got one home for all of your data. But if you're using a different LRS, Gomo will cope with that apparently.
Right. Okay. Well, I've learnt something. I thought that was coming real soon, but not just yet. So that's great. We've also got some questions about do we support SCORM 2004 or AICC? So at this stage, it's just SCORM 1.2.
Yeah. It's SCORM 1.2 and it's XAPI. So SCORM 2004 and AICC will probably not be coming in the future. They're not really on the roadmap. We see the movement is towards mobile devices and XAPI in particular. So that's where we're focusing all of our Gomo efforts.
Right. And just finally, I realise that we have quite a few issues coming, but also in terms of translation, about how do you actually take the courses and then to get them translated? Do we support the XLIF format, for example?
Yes, we do. We support XLIF. You've got XLIF import and export, so you can produce multilingual content in the way you might be doing with your traditional e-learning products, for example, and Nike are a very heavy user of that, and they're building single scopes with about 23 languages in at the moment. So yes, it's fully supported.
Well, thanks for that, Mike. I realise that we're probably out of time for further questions, but we will get back to people individually. We have captured all those questions.
Yes, it is. It's the top of the hour. That went fast. I'd just like to say thanks to the hundreds of people that were on here today. We really do appreciate you taking an hour of your day to have a look at Gomo. We hope it's been a useful, worthwhile and informative session. You will have my contact details because I believe that all of the emails from the GoToWebinar system have been coming from me. So if you've got any questions that pop into your heads after this event, feel free to contact me and we'll do our best to answer them. We will also go through the questions that have come through and the ones that we've missed, and we'll attempt to answer all of those with a follow-up event as well. But it just remains for me to say thank you for your time again. Thanks you for helping out there. That was a big help as well. And hopefully I will speak to you all again soon. So thanks very much, everybody, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you. Bye.